You're watching BCTV. We're all about Brantford. You're watching BCTV, Brantford Government Television, a service of Brantford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Brantford.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, sorry. Is this on? Good evening. Is it on? Okay. The annual budget meeting on Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 is called to order at 8:03 p.m. Please let's rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Mr. Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Representative Adams.
Here.
Representative Alphone.
Here.
Representative Amore.
Here.
Representative Anderson.
Here.
Representative Black. Absent. Representative Bonenberger.
Here.
Representative Brooks.
Present.
Representative Dayhill.
Here.
Representative Emerson.
Here.
Representative Greenberg.
Here.
Representative Hartwell.
Here.
Representative Henschel.
Here.
Representative Hines.
Here.
Representative Ingraham.
Here.
Representative Keith. Absent. Representative Leitch.
Here.
Representative Larson.
Present.
Representative Lafredo.
Here.
Representative Maresca.
Here.
Representative McCall.
Here.
Representative McCormick.
Here.
Representative Nupani.
Here.
Representative Papalizio.
Here.
Representative Sharkey.
Here.
Representative Shrestha.
Here.
Representative Sumro.
Here.
Representative Toohill. Here. Representative Verderam.
Here.
Representative Waterman.
Here.
And ex officios, I see.
Representative Edelman's here.
Okay, thank you, Representative Edelman. Ex officios, I see our town clerk, Lisa Arpin, present. And you do have a quorum, Madam Moderator.
Thank you very much, Frank. Okay, let's take up an approval of the minutes of the meeting of April 9th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval of the minutes as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, the minutes are approved as submitted. We have two pieces of communications. One is a bit of housekeeping business, sorry. One is a request from Minority Leader Verderam requesting a switch in committee memberships so that Mr. Toohill will be moving to Rules and Ordinances, and Mr. Ingraham will be running, switching to Admin Services. That's an announcement in public, so we will make that change. We'll make sure that we make the change on the website. Okay? Thank you. The second piece of communication is to really announce our annual budget deliberations. I received a transmittal letter, budget transmittal letter from the First Selectman. It's a lengthy document. It is published on the website. This is what it looks like for anybody who hasn't seen it on the website. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the Chair of the Board of Finance. You're right. I'm reading, because it's a lengthy document, the rules allow me to summarize, but I'm going to just read one paragraph called the budget in brief. The Board of Finance's efforts, coupled with an adherence to the above guidelines, produced a recommended budget that totals $135,311,96 and represents an increase of 3.6% over the current year amended budget. Non-tax revenue of $18,340,439 will fund a portion of the operations, leaving the balance raised from taxation at $116,970,657. After adjusting for tax credits and an allowance for uncollected taxes,
I'm sorry, Madam Moderator, is that last year's?
is it? I'm sorry.
It's last year's, it's not
I'll
this
start
year's.
again, sorry. Okay, here we go. The board's efforts, coupled with an adherence to the above guidelines, produced a recommended budget that totals $141,698,673 and represents an increase of 4.7% over the current amended budget. Non-tax revenue of $22,926,654 will fund a portion of the operations, leaving the balance raised from taxation at $118,772.19. After adjusting for tax credits and an allowance for uncollected taxes, the amount of taxes required equals $121,433,369. This total, divided by the estimated net taxable grand list, produces a tax rate of 21.49 mils. That was as transmitted in April.
Madam Moderator,
Yes.
could I just point out that the agenda has the grand total, the last three digits is 873, and it should be 673 on the actual agenda.
On the actual agenda? Okay, let's make that amendment. Okay, thank you. That's a typographical error.
What is it again, please?
$673.
Instead of 873?
Instead of 873.
Thank you.
All right. So a couple of announcements first. One, I will read item 5 as an overall picture of the budget. The Board of Finance recommends the following budget for fiscal year 2025-26. Board of Education operating budget, $69,164,640. Board of Education special education budget, $0. Board of Education capital and leases, $770,000. Subtotal for the Board of Education is $69,934,640. Town departments, $71,764,033 for a total budget of $141,698,673. So we will now take up and hear a report on 5A, and I'll read that. To consider and, if appropriate, approve the recommendation of the Board of Finance of an appropriation of $69,934,640 to the Board of Education, which is the operating budget plus capital for fiscal year 2025-26. Okay, we will hear a report on, yes?
As a matter of procedure, I'll make the motion that we accept the budget as presented from the Board of Finance.
Okay, I didn't think we needed that yet, but okay. We have a motion to accept the recommended budget of the Board of Finance. Do we have a second?
That's the Board of Education portion of the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, let's open the floor for discussion.
We need
Yes.
to hear the education.
Madam Moderator,
let's-
through you,
Could you clarify if this is, if your motion is for just solely for the Board of Education or the entire budget, both Board of Education and town side?
It is for both. Before we have our discussion on the budget, traditionally, we make the motion that we accept it from the Board of Finance, have our discussions, we make all of our adjustments, and then vote on the amended.
Yes, our plan this year was to vote first on the Board of Education piece. So we can do that. We can vote, we can have a vote for the recommended overall budget and still break it down. So do we have that motion? Do we
Yes.
have a motion for both
Yes.
parts of the?
It was
You
moved
need
and
a second.
seconded.
Okay, all right, that's been clarified then.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion, and we have a second for that, okay. We're not voting on that yet, right? No. Okay, so we need a committee report on the Board of Education budget.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Is this on?
Yes.
You're on. Thank you. So first, I would just like to thank Dr. Tranberg and Blaise Leviton, who attended several of our education committee meetings and gave us a great presentation. So we thank them for their transparency. The Education Committee met on May 5th via Zoom. We voted unanimously 5-0 to approve the Board of Education budget for the fiscal year 25-26 as recommended by the Board of Finance. And I put this in the form of a motion.
Thank you very much. For clarity's sake, when we open the floor for discussion, the RTM will be called on first for their comments and questions. When all RTM members have contributed what they wish to, then the floor will be open to the public. Okay, are we clear on that? All right. So, Representative Brooks.
Through you again, Madam Moderator, to Representative Ingraham. I understand you have a motion on the floor. A motion was just made by the board for the Board of Ed, and I would like, as a body, that we vote on that specific education committee report first before we do the town side, if it's okay with you, sir.
Which is exactly the tradition. I brought it up last year. It was overruled, so I'm glad it's back the way we always did it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, so we're clear. After discussions, we will vote as a body on the Board of Education budget. Okay, very good. All right, I will open the floor to discussion, comments, questions on the committee report regarding the Board of Education budget.
A point of order, Madam Moderator. So, the main motion made by Representative Ingraham, seconded by Representative Verderham, is not being acted on now. So it's being held in abeyance, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Till after all the committee reports.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Representative Brooks would like to comment on the education budget.
Please put your hand way up. It's hard to see. Okay. Okay.
Please use the hand mic.
I can yell, too, if it pleases this body.
I can't hear you.
I would just like to make a comment about the education budget. I would like to refer back to those who remember, Mr. Toohill would, that there was a time when the education budget was higher than the town side, that it was usually like 52% to 48%, somewhere right around there, and now it's the other way. Even when it feels like this year we have a bit more of an increase, but I would appreciate that Dr. Tranberg has done a phenomenal job in his short time here, and so I would be voting in favor of this budget to support him, but also pointing out that over the years we have gotten this to a more manageable percentage. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Brooks. Are there other comments or questions from the RTM? Okay, hearing, going once, going once. Okay, hearing none, I will open the floor to comments or questions from the public.
Great.
Oh, thank you.
They actually gave us both. One's for TV, one's for us.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, just point it at yourself.
Thank you. Greg Gerolman here in Brantford. Good evening, folks. I wanted to speak in favor of the budget as presented, along with an increase. The increase being $500K to make up for what has been identified and quantified as a $3.3 million shortfall over time with the budget. For those that were at Ms. Leitch's RTM Education Subcommittee meeting, that was articulated by the superintendent and the chief operating officer. So this isn't, quote, Gerolman's opinion. This is something that has been looked at in great detail, analyzed, and quantified. So, what we have are very changing circumstances. When you look at the transition from previous district leadership to present district leadership. Previous district leadership, there was very little oversight. There was very little desire on the part of, Board of Ed or district leader to raise the bar in terms of standings, in terms of offerings for our district. The changeover, because of desired change, has gotten us to a point where I think it's fairly unanimous that the new superintendent is greatly exceeding expectations. And, I say new, but right around the corner, he's going to be here for 2 years. That's a good amount of time. This is his second budget cycle. He's had 3 reviews, all, from the BOE, all of which have greatly exceeded expectations. And I think being hired in a turnaround situation, not to maintain the status quo, but to raise the bar, that presupposes greater investment. The unfortunate thing is that it seems that the processes, the procedures, and the funding aren't terribly different with the new superintendent here than if the old superintendent were still here. I mean, that's something that needs to change if we truly desire to raise the bar within our district from various perspectives. And we're at a point where there are some metrics that really and truly, above and beyond unacceptable, are really embarrassing if we're being brutally honest. So what I'm saying is that you look at the past, and in the past, what we've had is, a superintendent that was just in it for the blocking and tackling, the day-to-day, a game manager, if you will, to use some sports terminology. He wasn't looking to move the needle forward, nor was the BOE pushing him to do so. Now we have, a whole different picture, and something needs to change. So what I'm saying is that, in closing here, we need to make a decision, and that is to say, okay, hey, we're real serious about it, and that means more commitment in the form of monies. Or the other, the flip side is that, hey, no, we don't have that desire. We just want to run a prevent defense, and that's okay too. But all I'm saying is that one way or another, can we please be consistent about it, one way or the other? Because what it seems to me is being said and being portrayed is that, hey, we're real serious about, moving our district forward. But at the same time, it's not as compelling in terms of, the actions meeting the words. So the actions need to meet the words one way or the other. So with that, I say the key is additional funding, $500,000 for this year and $500,000 for each of the next 5 years, so that there is not only a step in the direction of helping to bridge this $3.3 million gap, but, also, a step this year and a game plan going forward. It can't all be done in a year. The old saying, what happens overnight isn't going to be solved overnight, right? But what doesn't happen overnight, right? But all I'm saying is, please consider this, and thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Jarlin. Okay, are there comments or questions from other members of the public here with us tonight? Okay, hearing none. We have a motion on the floor to approve, to consider, and if appropriate, approve the recommendation of the Board of Finance of an appropriation of $69,934,640 to the Board of Education operating budget and capital for fiscal year 2025-2026. We'll have a roll call vote on the matter. Mr. Toohill, are you ready?
Yes, Madam Moderator. Representative Adams.
Approved.
Representative Edelman.
Approved. Thank you.
Representative Alphone.
Yes.
Representative Amore. Doesn't vote.
No vote.
Representative Anderson.
Yes.
Representative Bonenberger.
Aye.
Representative Brooks.
Aye.
Representative Dayhill.
Aye.
Representative Everson.
Yes.
Representative Greenberg.
Yes.
Representative Hartwell. Representative Henschel.
Yes.
Representative Hines.
Yes.
Representative Ingraham.
Aye.
Representative Leach.
Yes.
Representative Larson.
Aye.
Representative Lafredo.
Yes.
Representative Maresca.
Yes.
Representative McCall.
Yes.
Representative McCormick.
Yes.
Representative Nupani.
Yes.
Representative Papalizio.
Yep.
Representative Sharkey.
Yes.
Representative Shrestha.
Yes.
Representative Sumro.
Yes.
Representative Toohill. Yes. Representative Verderame.
Yes.
Representative Waterman.
Yes.
The education budget passes, Madam Moderator.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toohill. Okay, we're going to move on to 5B. Before we do that, one housekeeping thing that came up. It will make more sense in terms of committee reports and committee amendments to hear Ways and Means Committee's report last. I don't believe this requires a vote. But if anybody thinks we do, we can do that. But we're going to move B down to become E, and we will go education, rules and ordinances, public services, admin services, then ways and means. Are any objections to that change? Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Moderator,
Yes.
on B, 71,764, is that a decimal or a comma?
Should be a comma.
Should be a comma.
Just checking.
Thank you.
And it's also on above where it says town departments.
Yes.
That should be a comma.
It was also
Thank
read
you.
incorrectly the first time.
What did I say? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we will, all right, I'm going to read it again. To consider and if appropriate, approve the recommendations of the Board of Finance of an appropriation of $71,764,033 for all other town departments for fiscal year 2025-26. We will hear first from the Education Committee. Representative Leach?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So, first I want to thank Jennifer Sullivan for her budget presentation to us on May 5th. The Education Committee met via Zoom. We unanimously approved the amended Willoughby Wallace Memorial Library budget 5-0. The amendment was moving $2,000 from contingency to communications. We also, I would also like to thank Katie McNichol for her budget presentation for the James Blackstone Memorial Library budget, which we also heard that night, and also unanimously approved 5-0. I put these in the form of a motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions about the committee report of the Education Committee?
Madam Moderator,
Yes, Mr. Brooks.
I'd like to move that we hold all discussion on the committee reports till the end.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor to hold discussion until all committee reports are heard. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so then let's move on to rules and ordinances.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. On April 15th of this year, the Rules and Ordinance Committee reviewed the Board of Finance approved budgets of the following departments: the Building Inspection and Enforcement, Conservation and Environment, Inland Wetlands and Natural Resources, Planning and Zoning, Zoning Board of Appeals, the Water Pollution Control Authority, and the Economic Development Commission. Each of these departments provides critical services to the town. The aggregate increase for these 7 departments was 2.5% above the previous year. In addition, the town receives income from the building department in the form of permit fees and has received over $800,000 in revenues to date. The RNO approved these budgets unanimously with one internal transfer in the Conservation and Environment Commission budget involving a reduction of the advertising, printing, and binding line item from $900 to $0, and an increase in the miscellaneous expenses line item from $8,860 to $9,760. And I put that in form of motion.
Thank you very much. Can we hear from the Public Services Committee, Mr. Bonenberger?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Public Services Committee met on April 3rd to hear presentations by Chief Mulhern of the Police Department and Chief Mahoney of the Fire Department, and again on April 17th to hear presentations by the Departments of Engineering, Public Works, Docks and Recreational Facilities, Municipal Government Buildings, Animal Control, and Solid Waste Management and Recycling about their budgets and capital improvement plans for 2026 as approved by the Board of Finance. Highlights include hiring another 2 police officers and bringing 16 EMTs to full salary for the fire department, who will also generate revenue. Each of these departments are contending with the dramatically rising cost of equipment, labor, and economic uncertainty over which they have no control, and nevertheless manage to keep the quality of public services in Brantford high, for which I and citizens of Brantford are grateful. The committee voted unanimously to pass the budgets as presented, and I put that in form of a motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Okay, so now we will hear from Mr. Edelman, Administrative Services.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and welcome all. Admin Services met on May 6th of this year and reviewed budget requests from the following departments: elderly services, probate court, information technology, assessor, Board of Assessment Appeals, East Shore District Health Department, Labor Relations, Human Resources, Human Services, Tax Collector, Executive, Legal Services, Legislative, Town Clerk, and Elections. As a result of changes in the personnel coming in the first selectman's office and the fact that our current office holder hasn't taken a raise in some time, the agenda for admin services was amended to add the following. Consider and if appropriate approve a salary for the first selectman of $135,412 for the first year of the 2-year term of office, and then increase by 2.25% for the second year of the term. Admin services, after making that change, approved the budget request as amended. I would give that the form of the motion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Hartwell, would you?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So the Ways and Means Committee met twice to consider budgets, first on April 16th and then again on May 7th when we did the votes.
I was told no.
We looked at the following departments: the Bradford Cable Television, Recreation Department, Parks and Open Space Authority, pension and contributions, employee group insurance, municipal insurance, Board of Finance, fiscal services, public celebration, the principal debt service, the interest debt service, the contingency budget, the coastal resiliency funds, the lease fund for the Board of Ed and Technology, lease fund for public works, and the sewer assessment fund. And the first thing we did in our meeting was to approve all of the recommendations from the Board of Finance except for contingency. And then we considered and passed 4 amendments to contingency. So each of these is taking money from contingency and placing it in another part of the budget. The first one was human resources, $10,000 from contingency to a salary pool, incentive pay. Do you need the numbers on this?
No.
Do you need the budget numbers?
No.
No. Okay. So $10,000 from salary pool to a salary pool incentive pay for part-time workers to increase their pay to 3% instead of that which had been passed before. Then we also considered and approved moving $2,000, which the Education Committee has already spoken to the Willoughby Wallace Library for their communications. Thirdly, there was a proposal to move $15,000 from contingency to the tax collector's office to fund a study for renovating the tax collector's office, particularly looking at ADA requirements and security for the monies that are in the tax collector's office. And finally, in relation to what the admin committee had done in terms of increasing the salary for the first selectman, you've already heard the number that would be for the entire year, but the law requires that we approve salaries in before an elected official takes office. So we're looking at money for a prorated increase to the salary of the first selectman, starting with the new first selectman. And so the prorated amount for this current 2025-2026 budget that's coming up would be $18,235. So all 4 of those were considered in committee and approved. And I put that in the form of the motion.
Thank you very much. I will now open the floor to discussion on these individual committee reports. Open the floor to the RTM. Any comments, questions? Mr. Brooks.
I would just like to...
Representative Brooks.
I would just like to just talk quick about the amendment to the contingency fund to go into the salary pool incentive fund. this came to my mind after hearing the BCTV budget presented, and the individual that was part-time only was getting a 2.25% increase. And I just felt like as a town, we need to support these people. I was driving out of Pine Orchard towards Damascus Road by the middle school, or sorry, intermediate school on, I want to say it was Wednesday of last week, but don't quote me. Anyway, so I'm driving and we passed the first crossing guard, and then a car in front of me passed a car that was going a little slower, right there in between the two personnel that worked the traffic. And I remember thinking, this is why I want to give them more money, because if they weren't there, this could turn into a disaster. And a lot of these part-time people are staples and fixtures in our community, and I believe that we as a community need to show our appreciation in even the smallest amount. I mean, we're talking about a minute amount. I did the math, just so you know, I did the math on all the part-time line item budgets, and I would also make it public that this, I believe, is also for board clerks. And I came up with a number of $12,012 to give them all a 3% increase. So I made it $10,000 after a discussion with the finance director that those line items aren't exact as far as, you know, hourly employees and those kind of things. So, you know, I'm highly supportive of this. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that I came up with this amendment, but so I just want to raise in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brooks. Other questions, comments, amendments? Mr. Ingram.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. On the same subject, I don't feel that this RTM should be changing budgets on our rent. This should be coming from our directors, our town leads, telling us what they need and how we make adjustments. You know, this one, exactly, it's time. But the implications are, there's an RTM that's going to come out, say, gee, we can take up Mr. Gerolman's suggestion. And the education system probably could use that $500,000. And do we have it? We probably could add it tonight. But it's not right. It's not coming out of the commissions. They have many people volunteering to be on committees, commissions, directors, to make these suggestions to us. So we're not voting on the individual items, so I'll have to figure out how I want to vote on the budget. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chudo.
Thank you. I think these ideas, from Representative Brooks are all very good. I mean, he thought this out. He did the math. He talking about it's very important to have the tax collector's office compliant with ADA. And as far as, I just looked in my book, and I believe that the cable TV personnel, the part-time workers, are getting a 2.25% increase. And so if this passes, this would, I guess, give them 3. But my objection is the procedure. This was not done, I believe, properly. It should have gone, those 2 items that I mentioned, the pool for the incentive, part-time workers, and the money for the tax collector's office should have gone to admin first. And I mean, I don't know anything about these right now. I don't understand the criteria really. I tried to look these things up, because, but unfortunately, right now, today, the meeting, the Ways and Means Zoom meeting is not on BCTV. The April meeting is still on. And I also checked the town website today, and the minutes are not posted yet from the May Ways and Means meeting. So I don't know the details. I wasn't privy to the conversation. So I think it's really premature. I think as I complimented Representative Brooks, I think there's very noble intentions, and I might very well, vote to approve them. But I don't know enough information about this tonight. So, I'm going to have to vote against it, even though I do support it. I believe that, Representative Brooks has a good heart, and, and this isn't the first time we've seen it. And but I don't think the procedure was followed. I mean, you don't just come up with an idea and go to Ways and Means and have it taken out of contingency. You go to the committee that has, jurisdiction or purview or oversight over that particular head, over that department head. And for those two items, I mean, they should have gone to Representative Edelman, who's he's the chairman of that committee, admin. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Representative Henschel. Was there a hand in the back? No. Okay.
Yes, I'd just like to point out that on the increase for part-time people, but I think this amendment is just putting money into a fund that will allow, at the discretion of the administration, increasing those salaries, those part-time rates up to 3%. It's not dictating that happen. It's putting money into a fund which will allow that to happen at the discretion of the town.
Representative Brooks?
I'll just say it. So,
It's not on, so.
to some extent, Representative Ingerman is correct. I cannot, and Representative Henschel is correct as well. I cannot make a motion in this meeting or any meeting dictating what the department heads do as far as raises go. I'm just making the funds available, and if any of the department heads were here, other than the fire department, who is the one department that doesn't have any part-time hourly personnel, then I mean, really I have to trust them to do what I feel is the right thing to do, and I've made the money available for them to do that. But that amendment in no way dictates, I can't dictate that they do that. I just ask with this money that they do what I believe is the right thing.
Representative Sharkey?
The fire department absolutely has part-time personnel.
Okay.
They don't have a line item.
But they're...
That's a union.
Volunteers?
He had just made a statement that they didn't, that's all. Just correcting.
Needs to be clarified that.
Okay. Are there other comments or questions on any of the committee reports? Any amendments?
Well,
I don't see.
We can take a vote on the Ways and Means changes then, take a separate vote on that. I'd like to, I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
Okay, so just to streamline things, I would like, to make a motion that we vote just on those proposed Ways and Means contingency transfers at this time. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Do you have a second? Okay, all in favor of separating out Ways and Means and having a standalone vote? say aye.
Are we voting on those individually, the 4 amendments, or are we lumping them together?
Through you, Madam Moderator, Mr. Toohill, just for clarification, I would think that you could make a motion to amend the committee report to, I think your motion should be, I amend the committee report to exclude these 2 amendments. That would be your motion, and then we would vote on that amendment.
Thank you, Representative Brooks. So at this time, I would like to amend my motion so that we, so that we have a specific vote on the Ways and Means report, on the actions taken by the Ways and Means Committee, and that we exclude the tax collector change, the $15,000 from a contingency for the study, as well as the $10,000 from human resources for the.
What is it?
But it was 18.
For the 3%, Okay, that's my motion. Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Keep my second.
We have a second. Okay, so we are voting to exclude a vote on those 2 amendments, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Moderator?
Yes.
I'll let you say discussion.
Okay. We're going to have a discussion on that motion.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'll have to rise and not support the motion. The original motion would have been fine. Lumping the 2 items together causes problems for me, so I'll be voting against.
Okay. All right, our vote is to exclude the 2 amended items that Mr. Toohill referred to.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor of excluding those items from the vote on the Ways and Means Committee report, say aye.
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 All opposed? Can we have hands, please? I think we need to have hands on this. I'm not, let's have hands.
I need clarification on what I'm voting.
I'm not sure either.
I need a little clarification.
I think we, point of clarification, Madam Moderator. I would suggest that we take these up individually. That's my recollection of how the budget is handled, that it not be lumped together, that it would be easier for people to decide how they wanted to vote if it was done separately. Each of the items that has been discussed in the Ways and Means report, there were 4 that were introduced, that they be voted on individually and not as a lump.
Okay. All right.
I know.
We have 2 motions.
That was a clarification.
We have 2 motions. Mr. Toohill, if we were to vote on this, could you withdraw your motion to exclude those so that we can voting on each committee separately? And then we can do that again at that level. Okay?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Moderator. I will withdraw the motion I made.
Okay. And Mr. Ingraham, will you?
I will second the motion.
Okay. And your motion is off the floor now too, right?
I didn't make.
Oh, you didn't make a motion? Okay.
I just made a comment.
Okay. All right. So we've withdrawn that motion. So can I have a motion to have separate votes on each of the committees left to vote on? Hear a motion?
Who seconded that?
We haven't made the motion yet.
I will make that motion.
Okay. And did you have clarification, Mr.?
Each of the 4 items that have to meet with the board.
Yes, on each of the 4 items. Okay. So we are voting now on whether we will hear separately.
Second. I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. We are going to vote separately on each of the budgets heard by each of those committees. Clear?
We need to vote on that.
Yeah, we need to. We have a second. We need to discuss before we vote. the motion is to separate and to vote on each committee separately. We have a second for it. Do we have any discussion? Yes.
I'm happy that I think it's quadricating this vote. And it's really harkening back to how we traditionally did. We tried to streamline this night by putting things together. But, there were times we were here at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning voting on each budget. So I'm happy that this has some things to discuss.
Compromise situation. Okay. Any other comments on the motion? Yes. Mr. Finch.
Only because I have copies. I thought maybe it might be easier, but as a casual observation, if you're voting on all of the budget changes individually, I'd be happy to share this.
Yes.
And then I think what you could do is kind of follow along, because I don't think anybody's cares what order they're in, right? You're looking at all the changes that were made. So you can start out with, administrative services, consulting, tax collector. Oh, you're not? Okay.
Just ways and means.
All right.
Yeah, we're just taking 4 items that were reported on by
That's
Ways and
it.
Means, and
Okay.
those separately. The rest of it, we're going to.
All right.
We can go completely off the tracks.
Oh, you think go completely up to...
No,
Well, if Roseanne Diana would say that, never mind.
We need to vote to take them separately.
Okay. We've got the motion. We've got the second. We've had discussion. Do we have any more discussion before we have this vote? Okay. Hearing none. We are voting on to separate out these 4 amendments and to hear that discussion and to have those votes separately. Let's have a show of hands. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Raise your hand. None. Okay. Seeing none, the motion carries. And Mr. Hartwell, would you recap what we're dealing with, please?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So, as I said earlier, there were 4 items. There was the $10,000 that Representative Brooks spoke to a moment ago, moving money from contingency to a salary pool incentive pay line item, which was provided by the Finance Director. So I make a motion. I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, that is in a form of a motion. Okay, is there discussion or comments on this provision? We don't need a second because it's a committee report, right? Okay, so I'm hearing no discussion or questions, so we will have a vote on that provision. And the provision is to add that amount, which was $10,000 out of contingency for part-time raises to 3% into the pool. All in favor of this amendment, say, raise your hands, please. We're going to have a hand vote. Okay. Raise them high. Are you counting? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it is 15?
Yes.
15.
Okay.
The motion carries.
You got me, right?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Okay. So the motion carries. Okay, second amendment, Mr. Hartwell.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So the second one was $2,000 moving from contingency to a communications line item within the Willoughby Wallace Library, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments on this transfer for the Willoughby Wallace Library? Okay. Hearing none, those in favor of this transfer, raise your hands.
The library?
And it appears to slowly be unanimous, okay. Thank you. Okay, all right. Mr. Hartwell, provision 3.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So this one is to move $15,000 from contingency to a line item in the tax collector's office for consulting in support of a assessment, a study that would bring the office into compliance with ADA and would improve security. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or other comments or considerations to be brought up now by the RTM? Okay, hearing none, we'll have a vote. Let's have a hand vote, please. Raise your hands.
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
Raise your hands in favor. Over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 over here, and everybody over here, it looks like. So, 21. Okay, the motion carries.
Those opposed?
Sorry. Any opposed? Raise your hands. 2, 3, 4. 4 opposed. Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. And Mr. Hartwell, last but not least.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So this one is to move $18,235 from contingency to the regular salary and wages line item in the executive. It is to support a pro rata increase beginning with the next first selectman and carry through to the end of the 2025-2026 fiscal year. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion or questions on this amendment? Okay, let's have all in favor of this amendment, raise your hand. Okay. And it appears to, thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Okay, 1 abstention. Mr. Brooks. Okay, motion carries. Okay. So we have now to open up the floor to, again, to other questions or concerns about the other budgets approved in committee. We are opening up the floor to discussion on the other committee reports. We're still discussing that, okay? The motions are on the floor for that, so we now still have to go back and open discussion for the rest of those, correct?
So, point of clarification, this is to allow us to make further amendments.
Yes.
Introduce further amendments if we so choose.
Correct. Questions, concerns, amendments about the 5 budgets that we are still discussing. Okay. Representative Everson.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I would like to make a motion that we cut the contingency fund by $500,000. And the reason for that is it is in the purview of this body to make its own decisions based on what we have heard from the administration and from the recommendation of the Board of Finance. And the sense is that with a $49 million overall contingency fund, that if the contingency fund that taxpayers are being asked to contribute to, they've already contributed to the overall fund balance. So if the contingency fund were to be cut by $500,000, it doesn't mean that there isn't money to replace should we need it. It's there. So I make a motion that we cut the contingency fund by $500,000.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second for the motion. Floor is open to discussion.
Madam Moderator.
Yes, ma'am. Representative Verduran.
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Hey.
Good. Well, I rise against this motion. I think it's vastly irresponsible. Part of my comments I was going to say for later this evening for item number 15, but they seem particularly relevant now. Earlier today, I was at CBI Business Day, and I got to hear about the state budget, the federal budget, the uncertainty at levels all across government. And I got to sit there and be very proud that I live in Branford, Connecticut, one of the best run municipalities in the state, because the volatility that we're talking about at the state level and at the federal level, our first selectman and our finance director and our board of finance have been planning for this for years. They knew this reval was coming. We heard about it last year from Mr. Finch. We heard about it again earlier this year. They have made headways to plan for us for our future. So I sat there in this meeting today, and I was so proud, and I felt easy. And I can't say the same thing for my friends from Hamden or North Branford or North Haven, who are also having their own budget referendums today. I think that it's the responsibility of this body. Yes, we have the power to do that, but I don't believe that we should take that power. It's not responsible. I'll repeat that word because I think it's important when you're talking about taxpayers and money that you emphasize what responsibility means. And to me, that means running a town budget the same way folks are doing their budget calculations at their kitchen tables. So that's all I'll say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, other comments or questions? Representative Adams.
How's the decibel level? No,
It's not.
Can someone fix this, please?
They need a mic over there.
Yeah. Peter?
Let's go and pause.
All right, there we go.
I want to thank Representative Verani for waking us all up. But I'm not going to stand just for disability reasons right now, but I'm actually requesting that we support this motion. And I agree with all of us on all sides. We want to leave a prudent reserve. That's unquestioned. And this is a motion that leaves that in place, well in place, and it starts to use the undesignated fund, the fund balance, for exactly what you mentioned was foreseen, which is the shift of the tax burden more onto the shoulders of precisely those people, many of us in this room, who are sitting at our kitchen tables trying to figure out how to drop a budget, including leaving for ourselves a prudent reserve. In Spanish, the word is imprevistos, which means unforeseens. And there's always that, right? There's some foreseen, there's some unforeseen, there's some unforeseen unforeseens. If I had my way, I'd bring the contingency, adding that line to the next budget to zero. I understand the reasons for having it there, particularly for our bond rating. Potentially, it's a question we can take a look at. We have a contingency fund, and it's in the undesignated funds. And I'm probably like a lot of us. I'll read a letter later on that a resident wrote to me, and I imagine others in this room have received them as well. They love Branford. They want to stay, and they are so worried about what their tax bill is going to look like. So this is a way of easing into the new reality, and I support this motion. Thanks very much.
Representative Henschel.
Yes, thank you, moderator. I agree that it is terrific that Branford has such a great fund balance, rating fund, however you want to describe it. I am definitely a proponent of having a strong fund balance. We have a very large fund balance. But what I'd like to point out is over the last 4 years, every year, our fund balance has gone up between $5 and $9 million per year. What that means is that the amount of money that taxpayers are paying into the fund is in excess of what was actually needed in the end after all the revenues and all the costs for it are tallied. So even if we keep our fund balance where it is right now, there's nothing to say that we shouldn't expect going forward in this coming year. We're still going to have a net increase in the fund balance coming from that equation. And certainly, it's happened in the past. I think it's a good thing that we have a strong fund balance, but I don't think we need to continually have it grow year after year after year. Right now, it's quite a bit above what even the Board of Finance has been discussing as a prudent level of fund balance. And I think that hopefully the Board of Finance will, in this coming year, set some standards for where we should keep our fund balance. But if we go through a year and at the end of the year have excess money that wasn't spent, when you look at revenues versus costs, I think that money ought to go into the next year's budget and be used to keep our taxes low. So I'm in support of this motion.
Representative Hartwell.
Thank you. I just want to...
Keeps going on.
You're good.
Okay, sorry. I just want to obviously support this.
Tap it.
Keeps going off.
What? Here.
He needs to change the battery.
Here you go. Here you go.
I just want to point out here that, as Representative Adams just says, we're in a tax stressing year. And by reducing the contingency fund, we will actually slightly, not a great deal, but we will slightly reduce the tax burden on our taxpayers this year. Not a huge amount. We could have gone much more deeply into the budget and looked for cuts. We haven't done that. Remind everyone that the actual budget increase that came to us from the Board of Finance was 4.7%, which is not a small number. And that they're recommending in the mill rate that they put forward in the recommended budget a 2.1% increase in tax levy that's going to be needed to support the budget. So if we take $500,000 out of contingency, we are actually lowering by a small amount, but I think in the right direction, the amount of money that needs to be taxed this year to support the budget. And as Representative Henschel just pointed out, in the past, we have overtaxed the town. $9 million last year alone. In the last audited year, it was $9 million more tax money was taken in than was expended. That's an audited number. The year before that was $5 million. This is real money that was taken from the taxpayers. We still have it, it's in the general fund. This proposal here doesn't touch the general fund. It says we'd like to lower contingency by $500,000. And what that actually sends a signal to the rest of the government is to say, tighten up a little bit. Try to stay a little bit under your budget so that we can get through the year without going back to contingency multiple times to fund the budget. So, in my opinion, we can live with a smaller contingency fund because as a backstop, we do have the undesignated fund if we absolutely need it. But we should go for there for emergencies or for unplanned things that happen. So I very much support this resolution.
Thank you very much. Other speakers? Mr. Ingraham.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Through you, Representative Epperson, did you calculate the savings to the taxpayer, what this would reduce the budget by?
I did not, Mr. Ingraham.
To me, this isn't, prudent budgeting is to make sure you have a contingency. You just don't rob it. If you want to lower the budget, you go and make cuts. You make suggested cuts. You go through the budget line by line. You want to lower $500,000, go find $500,000. Small cuts throughout the budget. Contingency is easy. It's easy to, to say, hey, it's just, extra money. On the overtaxation for our constituents, good financial budgeting in your home is to save 10%. Put it away for emergencies. We're well within that. Average is 4% that we, over the years, at least in the charts I was given, thank you, that it was about 4% average. That's a bit low. The Board of Finance has signaled that they're taking out more, truly doubling what we normally do, which is exactly what people have asked for. It's written in the newspaper, they've gone to meetings. To go and now go into how we budget and actually set numbers is wrong. It's irresponsible. Thank you. I'll be voting against it.
Other questions or comments from the RTM? Who's that? Who are you? I can't.
I was told I had to speak after the RTM spoke.
Yes, I'm still here waiting to hear whether or not any RTM members wish to speak. And then I will take from the public, okay? Other members of the RTM have anything that they would like to add to the discussion right now? Okay. No hands? All right. Members of the public, if you would like to speak, please identify just by raising your hands, and we'll go in the order that I can see you. So this gentleman here, please come forward and identify yourself, name and address, please.
Here you go. God, I hate mics. Sorry. I'm Dan Bullard. I'm from Stony Creek. And
say your name, please. Say your name again.
Oh yeah, Dan Bullard.
Yeah.
If you speak to me, I can't hear you. Double hearing aids. Okay. So I live in the area of Stony Creek, but not in one of those fancy houses on the water. And in my neighborhood, our assessed value went up from 150% to 200%. Ours is 175. So was the mill rate last year around 25?
30. Just about 30.
Okay, so there's about a third drop in the mill rate. But the assessed value for some of us is double. For all of us, it's 50%. Now, as all residential property went up, but it also went up dramatically along the shore. So, but again, I don't live on one of those. So, the effect on us will be somewhere around 30 to 50% increase in taxes if you do not take money out of the contingency fund. And when, I got to remember not to call her Tracy, Representative Everson spoke, I thought she was talking about $5 million coming out of the $47 million, not $500,000. And in all respect to that lady, I think this is damn near a crisis with taxations for us along the shoreline in Branford, Connecticut. Thank you.
I see a hand. I can't see a person. Oh, come forward.
My name is Steve Mazzacki. I live on Woodlawn Avenue. I think we have a problem with people not taking their own advice. I was at an RTM meeting, I think a month ago, and I heard Representative Brooks, who, by the way, has a great heart. Really good guy. I agree. And he got up and he gave a very, very thoughtful argument that we need to be very careful because there's somebody in Washington making, whether it's good or bad, and I tend to think bad, but inconsistent, crazy decisions. We see the stock market going up and down like crazy. And I think he was right. We have to adjust for that. So let's think for a second what happens if the stock market drops significantly. I've read the Democratic Town Committee Facebook pages. I've read all the alerts from Democrats. I've heard how bad the economy is going to be, the crash that's going to happen. If that happens, the percentages of growth we have in our police retirement funds, in our fire department retirement funds, and all of our retirement funds doesn't hit the numbers, and we're short. That happens if Trump does what he does, if it impacts us. Number two, the one thing Trump has talked about getting rid of. We are a shoreline town, and I am someone who believes in climate change. I believe the temperature of the water is growing. I believe that we're having more frequent storms. I believe those storms are going to get more dangerous to our shoreline over time. Now, since I believe that, if Trump reduces FEMA money, now let me tell you a story. Maybe only one or two of you on this side were here when this happened, but I walked with Umpta Ross. The then engineer was Janice Blasiak, and the second selectman was Fran Walsh, along the shore on Linden Avenue. Now, you all know where Linden Avenue is. The seawall was gone. Linden Avenue was gone. Huge portions of it. We had other problems. Because we have all these little villages in Branford, they couldn't afford the damage that was done to their seawalls. So they came to the town to work with FEMA and try to get more money for those. By the way, do we know what a seawall costs? Do we know what new roads along the shoreline costs? Millions of dollars. Not hundreds of thousands. Millions of dollars. So I applaud Josh getting up and saying, hey, we have a madman at the White House. I didn't vote for him. Sorry, guys. I didn't vote for him. I happen to be someone who believes in global warming. I happen to believe in somebody who believes in climate change. I happen to believe in somebody who makes sure your town is prepared for anything that can come to it. And we say $45 million. The budget's $140. So we've got 32, 33%. If your household budget was $100,000, is it so terrible to have $30,000 saved? Please tell me you have more than $30,000 saved. So if you believe the things that I think you believe, if you believe we're a shoreline town, if you believe that there are potentially millions of dollars, tens of millions in damage that can happen with one Sandy, with one Irene, because I lived it, I walked it. If you believe that, don't cut this. It's just stupid. And there's a second problem, and I know you mentioned this, I think you live near me. Are you on the line? Okay. You can throw rocks. Just throw that out there.
I'm not throwing rocks.
But you, no.
I live near you too, and I don't throw rocks at you either.
I've thrown rocks at them. You mentioned that we have this contingency because of the bond rating. We have that contingency for a lot more than just the bond rating. Okay, but here's what people don't understand. That money in contingency that's sitting there is not just, hey, if we have an extra money, it's there. There's money that's allotted to it that we don't know the exact amount yet. So we have our pensions. We have somebody talking about getting more raises to our union members. That's fine. I'm fine with giving more raises to our teachers and our firemen and our police and all of that. We don't know those numbers yet. So we set money aside for that. So what is contingency? What's the total number? $1 million.
$1 million.
So let's say we reduce it $500,000 this year. Let's say we do that. And we have this game where we want to get to 0% tax increase. Okay. The problem is that we've done for a very long time, under Jim Finch, under Umpta Ross, under Jamie Cosgrove, and under Joe Mooney. And Joe Mooney, by the way, if anybody's questioning his political credentials, was appointed by Ned Lamont to head up the state tax collection agency. He's a Democrat. He has led this town, and what we've always done is instead of having 0%, 5%, 0%, 5%, 0%, we said, let's have a consistent 1.5% to 2%. Let's do the opposite of Trump. We had the market go up this and down this, and now let's do the opposite. Let's have consistency. The budget is built over the last 20 years to have that consistency. So if you remove $500,000 now, let's say there's nothing attached to it, but next year you have 4 or 5 union contracts coming up. So not only do you have to put the $500,000 back, but you have to increase it another $500,000, which means next year's budget, you're up $1 million before you even begin to think about paying teachers and firemen and police officers. And it's the opposite of the consistency we're looking for. What taxpayers need more than anything else is predictability. That's what investors want. That's what everybody wants. So this idea of we have a pattern, we have a pattern, we have a pattern, oh, we want to get to 0, let's go here, only results in this next year. Unless you want to start taking from the fund balance, and God help us if Irene comes. And God help us if it's what we think is going to happen, I'm not so sure about that side. But what we think is going to happen as storms come, and that FEMA money's not there, and Trump doesn't give it to us because there's people in North Carolina and California still waiting on FEMA dollars, when that doesn't come, we've got to find the money. When the Stony Creek Association doesn't have the money to handle fixing their issue on the shoreline, they're going to come to the town. When Short Beach can't fix us, they're going to come to the town. When the Indian Neck Association can't fix theirs, they're going to come to the town. Because FEMA's not going to be there. So I respect Josh Brooks. I respect the fact that he got up and said, we have Trump to worry about. Because whether you like Trump or dislike Trump, the guy's up and down. He's unpredictable. The advantage Brantford has had for the last 20 years is we are the opposite of that. We are predictable. We know our tax rate's going to be 1 to 2%. We know we're going to be able to pay our teachers. We added 16 people to the fire department because we handle public safety and we take that seriously. The idea that we should say, hey, let's start this process of reducing savings, reducing contingency, so we can get and say, hey, we got a 0% tax increase is bad math.
Mr. Mazzacane, can you start to wrap it up a little?
I can wrap it up. My only request is this. Either somebody rescind this bad math, or we definitely have, and so I can't make this motion, but we have a roll call vote to know how the vote is going. Thank you.
I get the mic back?
Okay. We've heard from the RTM. We've heard from any other members of the public wishing to speak? Okay, where are we on this motion? I've lost track. Mr. Henschel, help us out.
Yeah, take a vote.
One more comment?
I asked the question, so I decided to do the math. It is .016 mils, approximately, that will be reduced. So 16 cents on every thousand.
Okay. It's 16 cents.
It's 16 cents on every thousand.
Okay. We will then have a vote on this proposed amendment. Okay. We have our second amendment. Okay.
Yep.
So
I'll call for a roll call vote.
We are having a roll call vote.
Okay.
On this amendment, and the amendment is to reduce contingency by $500,000.
Okay. Thank you.
There you go.
Representative Adams.
Yes.
Representative Edelman.
Yes.
Representative Alphone.
No.
Representative Anderson.
No.
Representative Bonenberger.
Yes.
Representative Brooks.
Abstain.
Representative Dayhill.
Yes.
Representative Everson.
Yes.
Representative Greenberg.
No.
Representative Hartwell.
Yes.
Representative Henschel.
Yes.
Representative Hines.
No.
Representative Ingraham.
Nay.
Representative Leach.
Yes.
Representative Larson.
Yes.
Representative Lafredo.
No.
Representative Maresca.
No.
Representative McCall.
Yes.
Representative McCormick.
Yes.
Representative Nupani.
No.
Representative Papalizio.
The hard no.
Representative Sharkey.
No.
Representative Shrestha.
Yes. Main Street.
Representative Sumro.
Yes.
Representative Toohill. No. Representative Verderam.
No.
Representative Waterman.
Yes.
It carries.
It carries. I don't know the numbers yet, but
I think it's 15, because I don't know.
There were 12 no's.
Oh, your side, isn't it?
okay.
Passes 15 to 11.
What'd you get for yeas, Tracy? How many for yeas?
15 to 11.
Well, we have one abstention.
One abstention, sorry.
So it's
14.
14.
14 yeas.
Okay, the motion carries 14 to 11 to one abstention.
Trump credit for taking us through the looking glass. Okay. There are each of the 5 committee budgets are still open for discussion before we take a vote on the overall budget on the town side. Any other comments, questions, amendments, proposals on any of the 5 budgets, any of the 5 budget areas heard by Education, Ways and Means, Rules and Ordinances, Public Services, or Administrative Services?
I think that we need to make a motion to add to the agenda the salary increase for the first selectman, as that impacts the executive salary line.
The resolution was added by Representative Edelman. He added it to his committee report.
He added it to his committee report, but it's not on our agenda. So
What's
I
on the
believe
agenda?
that we need to...
What's on the agenda needs to be amended to what was voted on in committee. What's on the agenda was what the Board of Finance originally submitted. So what we need to do also is to add that language as a separate agenda item to authorize the change in salaries. Yes, we can. Yes, I think we can. Right, and we can do that now, and I'll call for some advice on whether or not we have to approve 14 as a freestanding, a changed language for freestanding as an authorization, as a legal thing. Yes. Okay. Yes, I will entertain motions to approve the budgets as reported.
Madam Moderator, I make a motion that we approve the budget as reported by the various committees with the amendments that we've, adjustments to the amendments that we've made subsequent to those reports. I'm not going to give you an
No.
Point of order?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator, but at this point, we still have, the main motion is on the floor in abeyance, the one that Representative Ingraham made at the beginning of the night, so that has to be either
Well, we have to, don't we have to approve this in order to go back and have that vote? I don't know.
Ask the parliamentarian.
Do we have to?
Henschel.
Mr. Ingraham. No, just get, Mr. Henschel has a question for you.
Here, give him the microphone.
All these amendments are on that motion, so now we're voting on the amendment. But
we're voting on the amendment.
Everything that's been amended as we've gone through has changed. I just changed my motion, so now all those amendments have been added. All we have to do now is vote on the overall budget. Even the committee report on the first selectman's salary, it was in the committee report. On the agenda, it just says administrative services.
I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing.
I think so, too.
Yeah. Yes.
Just didn't want to add more.
Okay, so we need a motion on, I need a motion to approve the budget.
Your mic is not working. Could you use
We have yours is on the floor.
Okay, it is working, all right. Okay, we need a motion.
The motion has been made. I will second Representative Henschel's motion.
Please restate the motion.
The motion is that we accept the budget as reported out of the committees with the subsequent changes that we've made with motions to adjust that budget.
Okay, and so we're voting on the overall budget with amendments, approved amendments, okay? As amended. We have we have made this motion, we have a second by Representative Everson. Okay, we're going to have a roll call vote on the overall budget. What?
I mean, point of information, how about the motion of Representative Ingraham?
I can't hear you.
That is the motion.
Okay, so
It's all encompassing.
Okay.
He's restated it, more or less.
who made the
restated.
motion then? I mean, this is raised that you restated, sir?
Yes.
AI just told me I was fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's...
Point of order, Madam Moderator. So we are now voting on a budget of 141,000.
Million.
Thank you. 141,198,873.
Thank you.
No, 673.
673. Yeah.
They changed that.
Yeah, we did. We did.
But that takes out the 500,000 for contingency, but it doesn't take out the other aspects for contingency.
They were approved.
Yes, but point of clarification, since we have the finance director in the room, if we've made the motion, accepted it to cut 500,000 from contingency, we've also removed other amounts from contingency. So the figure that Representative Brooks,
They don't adjust, they don't change the...
They don't change the...
No. They're just transfers. No, they were, the only cut is the 500,000.
Oh, all right. Gotcha. All right.
Oh, okay. We are going to have a roll call vote now. Okay. Let's go. Thank you. Here it is.
Representative Adams.
Yes.
Representative Edelman.
Yes.
Representative Alfone.
No.
Representative Anderson.
I'm voting no.
Representative Bonenberger.
Aye.
Representative Brooks.
Yes.
Representative Dayhill.
Yes.
Representative Everson.
Yes.
Representative Greenberg.
No.
Representative Hartwell.
Aye.
Representative Henschel.
Yes.
Representative Hines.
No.
Representative Ingraham. Representative Leach.
Yes.
Representative Larson.
Yes.
Representative Lafredo.
No.
Representative Maresca.
No.
Representative McCall.
Yes.
Representative McCormick.
Yes.
Representative Nupani.
No.
Representative Papalicio.
No.
Representative Sharkey.
No.
Representative Shrestha.
Yes.
Representative Sumro.
Yes.
Representative Toohill. No. Representative Verderame.
No.
Representative Waterman.
Yes.
The budget's been approved.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toohill. Moving on. Item 6, to consider and if appropriate, approve the recommendation of the Board of Finance of an appropriation of $96,219 to the Open Space Fund budget for fiscal 25-26. This is one of the special funds. Do I hear a motion to approve this appropriation? And we have a second. Who is the second? Gina?
Ray.
Oh, Ray. Okay.
Hold on. So this was heard by, I'm sorry, point of order.
This was...
Okay, so the Open Space Fund was heard by...
Who is that?
Ways and Means, right? By Did you hear this, Representative Hartwell? The Open Space Fund?
No, it's a fund. The fund is...
I know, but they...
Yeah, Rich Shanahan.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you.
We should make a report then.
Do you have, Mr. Hartwell, thank you.
Yep.
Do you have a report on that vote?
We heard this, and I believe it was one of the items that I listed in my original report, cultural resiliency funds.
No.
So, yes.
No, this is the open space fund.
This is the open space
I'm
fund.
sorry, the open space fund, yes. Parks and Open Space Authority. Yes, so this was part of what we heard in our committee meeting.
And did you have, did you pass it? You approved it? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We approved all of the things that were in our committee except for.
So when it comes to this, can you just rise and report it as a committee, any of your, in the next coming special funds? Okay. So we have a committee recommendation. All in favor, any discussion on the matter? All in favor of approving this appropriation of $96,219, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item carries. To consider and if appropriate, approve the recommendation of the Board of Finance of an appropriation of $17,000 to the Sewer Assessment Fund budget for fiscal 25-26.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yes, this was also considered in the Ways and Means Committee meeting on the 7th of May and was approved. That's what.
Okay, that in the form of a motion. We have a motion. Committee report. Any questions or comments or discussion on item 7?
Quiet in the hall.
All in favor of this appropriation of $17,000, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the item carries. Item 8, to consider and if appropriate, approve the recommendation of the Board of Finance of an appropriation of $72,500 to the Board of Education Shoreline Adult Education Enrichment Fund budget for fiscal 25-26. Representative Leach.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Education Committee met on May 5th via Zoom. We unanimously voted 5-0 to approve the Board of Finance's recommended appropriation of the Shoreline Adult Education Enrichment budget. And we'd like to thank Christine Short for her presentation. I put this in the form of a motion.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments for the committee? Hearing none, those in favor of this appropriation of $72,500 to the Shoreline Education Enrichment Fund, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item carries. To consider and if appropriate, approve the recommendation of the Board of Finance of an appropriation of $633,857 to the Board of Education School-Age Child Care Fund budget for fiscal 25-26. Representative Leach.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'd like to thank Lauren Scolpetti for her budget presentation. We met, the Education Committee met on May 5th via Zoom. We unanimously voted 5-0 to approve the Board of Finance's recommended appropriation of the School-Age Child Care Fund budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. And I put this in the form of a motion.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments, or concerns about item 9? Hearing none, let's have a vote in favor of this appropriation to the School-Age Child Care Fund, $633,857. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the item carries. To consider and if appropriate, approve the recommendation of the Board of Finance of an appropriation of $5,159,306 to the wastewater treatment plant budget for fiscal 25-26. Representative Henschel.
Madam Moderator, the Rules and Ordinance Committee met on April 15th and reviewed the budget of the wastewater treatment plant and approved it unanimously, and I put that in form of a motion.
Okay, we have a committee report on the floor. Any questions or comments regarding this appropriation? All in favor? All in favor of approving the appropriation of $5,159,306 to the wastewater treatment plant, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the item carries. To consider and if appropriate, approve the recommendation of the Board of Finance of an appropriation of $507,538 to the Animal Control Fund budget for fiscal 25-26.
Thank you, Madam
Mr.
Moderator.
Bonenberger.
The Public Services Committee met on April 17th, and this is part of the presentation by the Department of Animal Control. The committee voted unanimously to pass it as presented and put that form of a motion.
We have a committee report in favor of an appropriation to the Animal Control Fund. All in favor of approving this appropriation of $507,538, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the item carries. To consider and if appropriate, approve the recommendation of the Board of Finance of an appropriation of $2,092,494 to the Human Services Special Revenue Fund budget for fiscal 25-26. Who is reporting on that?
Admin Services?
Yes, Mr. Edelman?
It's Peter Semino. It's Peter.
The
It's
Counseling Center. The Counseling Center.
Peter Semino.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. This was approved by the Admin Services on May 6, 2025 by a unanimous vote. That's form of the motion.
Okay, we have a committee motion to approve this transfer, this appropriation. All in favor of approving an appropriation of $2,092,494 to the Human Services Special Revenue Fund for 25-26, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the item carries. To consider and if appropriate, to consider and if appropriate, approve the recommendation of the Board of Finance of an appropriation of $800,000 for the lease fund budget for fiscal year 25-26.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Looked at this on May 7th in the Ways and Means Committee, and we approved this.
Thank you very much. We have a committee recommendation to approve this appropriation. All in favor of...
Excuse me.
Yes.
That's an education, that's the education lease fund budget, isn't it, Representative Leach?
No. We did not hear that.
We have
Is it the BOE?
It's the BOE. It was the BOE lease fund.
Yeah.
It's part of BOE.
Who heard it?
So there are two lease funds.
Yes, I thought contingency did. Okay. Yeah.
This is for the laptop computers, Chromebooks.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's Board of Ed.
Ways and Means for it.
Oh, they heard it?
Yeah. It doesn't. Okay. All right, once again, to consider and if appropriate, all in favor of approving this appropriation of $800,000 for the lease fund budget for fiscal 25-26, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All, hearing none, the item carries. Item 14 is on the agenda as it was originally passed. The wording is just what it was coming from the Board of Finance. A reworking of this item has to be substituted for this, and I guess we'll need to have a vote on that. It needs to be on the agenda as an approval of raises in the off years for the elected officials for first, second, and third selectmen, treasurer, Board of Assessment Appeals, RTM moderator, RTM clerk, and finance clerk. Mr. Edelman, can you read the amended language as how it should read?
This was heard on May 6th of 2025, and I will read the amended language, but I want to tell you that the increase as it's articulated and how it's written on our agenda here of 2.0 was changed to 2.25%, which I believe had been budgeted in, but there was a clerical error on how it came out on the agenda. So the appropriate reading is the same thing, but I will read it. Consider it appropriate to approve the recommendation of the Board of Finance to the RTM that, with the exception of the first selectman who was elected to take a 0% increase, salaries for the following elected officials increased by 2.25% for each of their 2-year term of office: second selectman, third selectman, treasurer, Board of Assessment Appeals, RTM moderator, RTM clerk, and finance clerk. As stated, this was approved by a 6-0 vote on May 6th in front of Admin Services, with Representative Toohill not participating in the process since he's one of the officials who were subject to the salary contained therein. Sorry, making that the formal motion.
Well, what we need is the total amended language, which includes the change to the first selectman.
Through you, Madam Moderator,
Yes.
I would like to make an amendment to the admins. No, you're not admin services, are you?
Yes.
To the admin services recommendation to include language that the first selectman will receive an increase over the next 2 years of 2.25% on the amended 135 412 that he would receive starting November 1st.
That's already been passed. What we need is an authorizing. That's all we need.
I'm making an amendment to his language to authorize that increase.
Okay.
The 2.25 for the next 2 years.
It's already in there. This is what we passed.
It is in there. Yes, Mr. Ingraham.
The increase that we approved was to correct the salary. This is to allow the first selectman to have raises over the next 2 years, unless we're saying.
No, it's included in the resolution.
Did you?
Yeah, it's in the resolution.
I read it in and said,
So Josh and I are on the same wavelength.
So, if just a point of clarification, if Representative Edelman could please reread the language for the first selectman's salary that was included in the report so that we get this straight. This is for certain electeds in this one resolution, and the executive first selectman's salary is a separate.
Representative Everson, I will read this now.
Thank you.
Read it exactly as I had read it before. To consider, if appropriate, approve a salary for the first selectman of $135,412 for the first year of the 2-year term of office, and then increase by 2.25% for the second year of the term.
Okay.
And that was made and incorporated into the budget request with Admin Services that was subsequently approved, I should add.
Yes, we have the financial aspects of this has been approved. What we need is an amended language in the authorizing resolution that includes the first selectman. We don't have that yet. Yes. Okay, so we need to amend the language of this and take out the 0% increase. So we need, can you read the amended, how it should read?
I'm sorry, Representative Edelman has done that. I will second the motion to change the salaries to 2.25 instead of 2.0 in the first resolution.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to change the language.
Who seconded, please?
We're waiting for a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor of amending the language officially to say, to reflect a 2.5%, 2.25% increase for each of the elected officials as in item 14, including the first selectman, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, no opposition.
Hold on.
Yes.
The first selectman is...
Yes, please. Yes, it's right there. Yes.
State your name, please.
Here they are.
Okay.
These were the ones that should
I think what you can do is, the best thing is, Representative Edelman gave the admin report. I think what confused thing initially when he first stated regarding the first selectman at a 0, but then gave the corrected language regarding the this new salary at 135 and the 2.25. So just to clarify, because you had just stated, I think this is important. So I think the agenda was handed out today with the corrected resolutions at the bottom. I think you take item 14 as one resolution, if you don't mind, a friendly amendment to, or I guess wording of what Representative Edelman stated, and just to clarify for everybody, because you did, to consider and if appropriate, approve the recommendations of the Board of Finance that the salaries for the following elected officials increase by 2.25 for each of their year of term of office. Second selectman, third selectman, treasurer, Board of Assessment Appeals, RTM moderator, RTM clerk, and finance clerk. And to consider and if appropriate, approve the salary for the first selectman of $135,412 for the first year of their 2-year term of office, and then increase by the 2.25% for the second year of the term. That can substitute the language of all 14.
Okay.
That's the report, correct, Representative Edelman? That's what came out of committee.
That is.
Correct.
Here when I gave my initial report?
No,
he wasn't.
Okay. Right, so, but I just think this motion, 14...
Yes. So if Representative Brooks could rescind his motion?
Yeah, as long as we get it right.
Yeah.
I rescind it.
Okay. So the language will include both parts of the resolution there collapsed. Okay, the way they were read, it was two separate pieces.
Okay, so currently on the floor, the motion is made by Representative Everson, and then Representative McCormick seconded, right?
Okay, yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So the language will be these two collapsed together.
I got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good.
Yeah.
Okay, let us have a vote on this language, which First Selectman Cosgrove just read. All in favor of the amended language, which we will not torture you with again, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I abstain.
Any one abstention. Okay. All right.
I abstained as well.
Oh, two abstentions?
I abstained as well.
Sorry, two abstentions.
Thank you.
Okay, item 15. The RTM will consider and if appropriate, approve the following resolution. Whereas the Branford Representative Town Meeting understands Branford undesignated fund balance to be an estimated $47 million, and whereas the Branford taxpayers have already contributed to its substantial growth through prior taxation over the last 10 years, resolved, the RTM respectfully requests that the Board of Finance zero out the increase to be raised by taxation by bringing more of the already banked fund balance. By bringing forward more of the already banked fund balance. Okay? We have this to consider. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Any second? A second on this motion?
Second.
Representative Hartwell seconds. And the floor is open for discussion. Any questions, comments? Representative Everson.
Thank you. As a real estate agent here in Branford, I've seen a big jump in home prices during and following the COVID years. That set the stage for the 2024 revaluation. I'm sure everyone has seen their assessments go up dramatically as property values skyrocketed. The town's new grand list, based on the revaluation of all properties, showed an increase of 45%. The mill rate will decrease as a result. We've seen a shift in the portion of the town budget that residential property owners are responsible for, while the commercial contribution has decreased. We as taxpayers are all going to feel the pain this year. Again, this backdrop of factors and inflation, the RTM has to consider next year's budget, as we've done. This year in particular, the Board of Finance did increase the fund balance portion brought forward to $6.4 million. This is appropriate. This is indeed the rainy day that the fund should be utilized for. Let's all remember that Brantford's generous fund balance, now at $47 million, has come through wise budget planning and by many previous years' taxation at higher rates than was necessary for then current expenditures. It's time to give more of it back to the taxpayers. I'll be voting in favor.
Any other comments or questions? Representative Henschel and Representative, who else? Afraid.
Yes.
Tap it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'll be voting for this. I'd just like to point out that the amount of money that would be involved in being moved from the general fund would be about 4% of the total fund at this point in time. So we're not asking. The amount is not a huge change in what we have available as a rainy day fund, general fund, whatever we want to call it. Thank you.
Representative, do you have a mic?
I don't know where it went.
I would just like to state that just a couple minutes ago, the other side, you guys stated that this money is going to be used to cover the amount that we got rid of with the contingency fund. So it seems like you guys are just doubling back. We're cutting more. Now we even have less money in the backup funds. So I'm a little confused on this. So with this, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to be voting no.
Okay. Other comments? Questions? Representative Adams. Oh, sorry.
I really like that mic.
He brings it with him.
But you can keep it, and I still won't first and take it. So I wanted to say that this, of course, is not within the RTM's power. This is a request that we're making to the Board of Finance on behalf of most of us on part of our constituents. And I just want to say, this past year, going through the budget, working bipartisan in our committee with public services, we looked at the lines. We heard a lot of reports. Many thanks to the departments who gave the reports. And we did what we could to keep a prudent and supportive budget for the town. And I feel like we worked, in fact, I know that it's not a matter of belief, we worked really responsibly. Public services, we had very robust discussions. And generally, I think unanimously approved the request and made some amendments, and also appreciated where departments made the cuts themselves, cognizant of what taxpayers, residential owners of homes are facing this year. And I just want to read, so I do support this request, this motion, this resolution. I want to read a letter that someone wrote to me. Hi, Abigail. I live in, this is by Linda Breslin, and she gave you permission to use her name. I live in the Paulson Park section of Brantford. I've lived there for about 27 years and in Brantford for over 35 years. I want to let you know how I'm feeling about the most recent evaluation and its impact on the budget. As you know, property values have increased tremendously. I'm very concerned about being able to stay in my home. I'm hoping that you and the other board members will keep Brantford an affordable place to live and consider those of us who have been in our homes for a long time. It would be very sad if only extremely wealthy people would be able to live in certain sections of our town. I would like to thank you in advance for coming up with a reasonable budget, and I just want to add here, I feel like we all worked really hard on that this past year. And for keeping those of us who have lived here for a long time on your mind when you do so. Sincerely, Linda Breslin. Just want to read that into the record and have her voice heard. She couldn't be here tonight. Thanks very much.
Other comments or questions or before we take a vote on this resolution? Hearing none, seeing no hands raised, we will have a roll call vote. Mr. Toohill.
Representative Adams.
Yes.
Representative Edelman.
I'm going to abstain.
Representative Alphone.
No.
Representative Anderson.
No.
Representative Bonenberger.
Aye.
Representative Brooks.
Pass.
Representative Dayhill.
Yes.
Representative Everson.
Yes.
Representative Greenberg.
No.
Representative Hartwell.
Yes.
Representative Henschel.
Yes.
Representative Hines.
No.
Representative Ingraham.
Aye.
Representative Leach.
Yes.
Representative Larson.
Yeah.
Representative Lafredo.
No.
Representative Maresca.
No.
Representative McCall.
Yes.
Representative McCormick.
Yes.
Representative Nupani.
No.
Representative Papalizio.
No.
Representative Sharkey.
No.
Representative Shrestha.
Yes.
Representative Sumro.
For Brentford residents, yes.
Representative Toohill. No. Representative Verderem.
No.
Representative Waterman.
Yes.
And Representative Brooks.
No, he passed.
He passed.
No, but if you pass, you come back at the
Yeah,
end.
that's right.
correct.
You did not.
That was a good job.
Thank you.
Toohill. Thank you. I'll say yes.
Thank you. I believe it passed. I could take a minute to count.
Yeah, I think it was. It passed.
It's 15 to 12.
Okay, it appears that, I'm waiting for the count, but
No,
it
it's-
appears to have passed.
It's 13 to 12 with one abstention.
got the good mic.
Is it 14?
It's 14. We have one abstention.
Magic.
You got it? We have a,
Just a hold on. Warrants.
We're going to take the money back to PCTV. We don't have a good mic.
there was only one abstention on our side, so.
It passed.
You got 14 and
Yeah.
one abstention, either 11 or 12.
The resolution carries. Okay, let's move on. Get past this budget at last. Item 16, to consider and if appropriate, establish a harbor management commission pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 22A-113K.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Rules and Ordinance met on April 15th to discuss this subject. They heard a report from the working group. We have received an independent council evaluation of the current ordinance and are continuing to work on modifications to the language, which will be heard by Rules and Ordinance next week. So this was re-referred, we requested we re-refer this, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay. We have a request to re-refer item 16 to Rules and Ordinances to continue their work. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The item is re-referred. Item 17, to consider and if appropriate, create an ordinance which will encode reasonable restrictions on short-term rentals in Branford.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Again, the working group has been discussing the language of this draft ordinance. We have received an initial report from the town attorney with comments, which the working group is reviewing and intends to meet with the attorney to discuss further. the committee requested that we re-refer to this item again, and I put that in the form of a motion. And I assure everybody that both of these ordinances will be passed this year. We will get them to you.
Because they were on the budget call last year. Okay, we have a request to re-refer, recommendation to re-refer item 17 to Rules and Ordinances. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we will re-refer that. And a new re-referral, or a new referral, to consider and if appropriate, recommend amending the Town Blight Ordinance, Chapter 124, Blight Prevention, based on recommendations from the Town of Brantford's Blight Enforcement Officer. Mr. Henschel.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This item was not on the agenda for our April 15th meeting, although there is an ad hoc working group, and I'd like to welcome Representative Toohill to Rules and Ordinance because he has been working with us on this draft rewrite. So we will be hearing this for the first time next Tuesday for discussion. Since it wasn't discussed, I will make a motion that we re-refer this, and it would require a second because it's not coming out.
So we have a motion to re-refer this.
Second.
I'll second.
We have a second? Okay. All in favor of re-referring item 17 to 18 to Rules and Ordinances, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? None. The item is re-referred.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Henschel. Okay. Number 19, any other business to come before the RTM? Mr. Brooks.
I would just like to make a comment about tonight's proceedings. I hearken back to many years ago when we used to do the budget and it was 1, 2 in the morning, amendment after amendment, and it would get pretty spicy. I'll describe it as that. One side didn't agree with the other side, and it would get a little, And but tonight, I made an amendment, and not everybody agreed with it, but it was very civil, and it was very well participated by all, and I just want to say that I appreciated the process, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Other comments? He's taken Claire Torelli's place. Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, we're second. All right, all in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Where are the opposed?
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Brantford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BrantfordTV.org.